All right.
Well, I want to welcome everybody here today. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us for this virtual event. My name is Dr. Philip Phillips. Some of you may know me, some of you may not, but I am Associate Dean of the Honors College. I'm also Professor of English, and I'm joined by Susan Lyons, who is one of our honors advisors and who is our co-leader for this this trip to Italy. So this will be the third time we will have offered the program Honors in Italy. We had to delay this particular trip, obviously, because of COVID, and we are both very, very excited to be able to offer it. We are really looking forward to it. I was so excited about it yesterday that I went way over the time, just having students in the room and having the opportunity to talk about the topic. And so this will be a much more succinct presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about the course and the program, some of the places that we're going, and then Ms. Lyons will talk about a lot of the details, scholarships and costs and things of that nature, and then we'll open things up for your questions. So again, thank you for coming. Let me begin, Susan, by complimenting you on the slideshow. It's beautiful.
Oh,
So
there it goes.
yeah, beautiful slideshow. So the previous slide, I'll just call everybody's attention back to it. What we're looking at here is the Roman Forum with a view of, I think, what remains of the front of the Temple of Jupiter. And if you look to the left, you can see an arch in the back, the Arch of Septimus Severus, and then the Roman Curia, or what used to be the Roman Senate House, which in imperial times would have been covered with marble. And then you've got the remains of what was once really the center of the Western world, and in many ways still is, but the emphasis has shifted more to the perhaps to Vatican City. One of the things that we'll look at in the course is the transformation of Rome, the founding and the mythological founding of Rome, history of Rome, with a focus more on the on imperial Rome, then late antiquity, the Middle Ages, and into the Renaissance. So let's go to the next slide. As you'll see, we've highlighted on the left the cities that we'll be visiting, the various places. One of the innovations that we have introduced this year is that instead of having 2 home bases, we're going to have 3. And by home bases, I mean places where we're going to be staying for multiple days, and places that we will be exploring in some depth, and places from which we will take excursions to other places. So the course is called Roma Aeterna, or Eternal Rome. And we're going to explore that concept in various ways. And by Rome, of course, we mean the city of Rome, but also the Roman Empire and the idea of Rome, and how it has sort of permeated our thinking and our literature and all manner of things. So you'll notice that the first place we'll visit will be Rome itself. Lots to see in Rome. We will spend, how many days are we going to be in Rome, Susan?
6 days, 6 nights, 7 days, something like that.
Yeah. So we're there quite some time. Now, when we're in Rome, we're also going to visit other places like Vatican City, which of course is the smallest country in the world. It is incorporated within Rome. It's where you have St. Peter's Square, St. Peter's Basilica, where you have papal masses, and the Vatican museums. Among the greatest museums in the world, including the Sistine Chapel. So lots of things. If you've never visited Italy, you haven't been to Europe, but you've heard of things, these are some of the things that you definitely will have heard about, things that you have perhaps seen on television, seen in books, read about. Seeing the places in real life is unbelievable. And we have a photograph here of the interior of one of the greatest masterpieces of Roman architecture, and a structure that is over 2,000 years old and is preserved almost entirely as it was when it was last renovated, which was back in the 2nd century AD. And this structure is the Pantheon. It's a temple to all the gods, and it's a structure that baffled architects for hundreds and hundreds of years because they couldn't figure out how to create a dome like this. This is the largest dome of its kind, made of concrete, and you see the oculus in the top. The floors, much of the interior, the doors, everything, all of these things are original to the building. And as beautiful as this photograph is, it does not do justice to the experience of walking in. We owe the building's preservation, as do many buildings owe their preservation, to their subsequent adaptation for use as a Christian church. So it managed to survive through the Middle Ages and all the way into present day, into the 21st century in this way, because it was used. It went from being the temple of all the gods to being a Christian church. So places that we're going to visit, I mentioned Vatican City. 2 of the very best archaeological sites in Italy. One, of course, everyone's heard of Pompeii, the city of Pompeii that was buried by ash in 79 AD, as recounted by Pliny in his letters. It's a city that has been excavated and is currently being excavated. It's an ongoing process. New discoveries are made all the time. But one of the wonderful things about Pompeii is that you can walk the streets of Pompeii. You can go into the buildings, into the houses, into the bathhouse and the amphitheater, ancient temples, all kinds of things. And in some cases, you don't even have to imagine what it would have looked like because you're actually in those structures and they're very, very well preserved. In other cases, they're partially preserved and you let your imagination fill in the blanks. It was a great tragedy, obviously, when Mount Vesuvius erupted and destroyed this city. But the benefit for us is that it has been preserved in this way, and we'll be able to visit it. And Ostia Antica is another site like this. It's not nearly as famous as Pompeii, but it was a very important city in ancient Rome. It was the port city. Lots of very well preserved structures there, and it's a place that we'll encounter at least a couple of times in our literature readings, and then we can imagine what it looked like back then. Whereas the trip to Pompeii is a full day immersive experience where we're going to see as much as we can, but we're still only going to be scratching the surface. Our trip to Ostia Antica will take pretty much an entire morning, but at lunchtime, we're going to break and we'll have an afternoon free for everyone to go to the beach. So if you want to know what it's like to go to a beach in the Mediterranean, this is your opportunity, and it's a great place. It's a very popular beach. It's very easy to get there. It's easy to get back from Ostia to Rome. Our next major city and home base is the city of Florence. And Florence, of course, is associated with our poet Dante, who will figure pretty prominently in our course and in our studies. it's a beautiful city. It's a city that is just crammed full of some of the best art in all of Europe and all the world. I think if we were only going to Florence and we were only going to places like the Uffizi, I think Ms. Lyons would have been completely on board with this. We could spend so much time seeing all the wonderful things that they have there. But it's an absolutely beautiful city. Well, from Florence, we'll be able to take some other day trips. One of them is to Ravenna, which was in fact the last capital of the Western Roman Empire. It's also a city that has some of the best examples of Byzantine art in the world, and is on the UNESCO World Heritage site map. So it's a big deal. It's so much very well preserved art, and I think we've got a picture of at least one of those in the next slide. Other cities, of course, you've heard of Venice. We'll have the opportunity to see St. Mark's Cathedral. We'll be able to tour that beautiful city, ride gondolas, etc. And then Cinque Terre. We have a photograph of this coming up later on. This is one of our additions to the program, and I'm very grateful to Ms. Lyons for this recommendation. If you haven't seen the Disney movie Luca yet, I would encourage you to do that. I think we're going to try to do a film night leading up to the trip, but that recent film was modeled on this, and it's just a colorful, very traditional Italian cluster of 5 cities, and just a postcard picture from just about any vantage point. Our final stop will be Milan, which was also a capital of the Western Roman Empire during the time of Valentinian II. Milan, while we will see some notable Roman ruins there, and we'll see examples of architecture and art from throughout the ages, Milan is most famous today as the fashion capital of the world. And one of the places that we'll visit is the Galleria of Emanuele Due, which has all of the high-end Italian designer names like Prada. It's just a beautiful place, and should be fascinating for all of us. And we have another side trip to the small medieval town of Pavia, and Pavia is noteworthy for our purposes as the final resting place of 2 very important Roman authors. One, Roman and North African, but both Latin speaking, Boethius, whose Consolation of Philosophy was written there, and then Saint Augustine, who was himself North African. Of course, Africa was a province of the Roman Empire. Somehow or another, their mortal remains ended up in the same church. So that'll be one of the many things that we see there, but it's supposed to be a very charming, small medieval town. So let's go to the next slide. The photograph that you see on the left is one interior view of the church of San Vitale, and San Vitale is located in Ravenna. So what you're seeing here is an example, a very nice example of Byzantine mosaic art. If you're familiar with the more modern painter Klimt, and the painting The Kiss with all the gold, it's very lush and beautiful. Klimt was inspired by these mosaics, but regardless of how Klimt was affected by this, I think all of us will be amazed at what we see. So our course is Honors in Italy, and there are many other study abroad opportunities for students at MTSU. What we're offering is one that is uniquely designed for honors students, and it's led by honors faculty and staff. All the students who participate in this program must be honors eligible. And it will be a competitive admission to the program. We're limiting the program to 20 students. And judging by the response that we've gotten so far, I think there will be, we should be getting a lot of applications for this. So I want you to think, carefully about the program. Consider, what most interests you. If this is the right program for you, I think it will be. If you're an honors student, it's a great opportunity to see some of the most, the most amazing cities in Europe and in Italy. Hesitate to use hyperbolic language, but there's so much. It really will be a transformative experience for everybody. So the course is actually a modified version of Honors UH 3500, the Honors Interdisciplinary Seminar. It's the interdisciplinary seminar on steroids, as it were, because we will actually be visiting places and exploring places and learning about places that are associated with the readings and discussions that we have in our class. So this is a course that will fulfill one of your upper division honors requirements. So benefits of this obviously is that we're going along with you. So if there's a concern, if you've never traveled to Europe before, you have family, friends, parents who are concerned about you going to a place for this period of time, I think that there can be some comfort in knowing that you have your associate dean and your honors advisor going on the trip with you. And we're going to be a resource for you. If there are any problems, we're going to handle those problems. Also, we believe that it's better for groups to have both a man and a woman leading the trip. So that's another benefit. Now, all of that having been said, I don't want to give you the impression that you're going to spend all your time with me and with Ms. Lyons. We will have, most of our mornings are going to be very busy. Some of our afternoons are going to be very busy, but you're going to have several days, many days throughout the trip where you've got your afternoon free. You're going to have some days, I think we've got 3 days built into the program that are completely free. And we have some recommended opportunities for you, but they're not required. And so you have an opportunity, like if you want to go to Siena, you want to get on a train and visit another city that's not on the itinerary, you'll be able to do that. But there's some other wonderful things that Ms. Lyons has put together that I think are really good. And in the process of, visiting these different sites, you might see something that's interesting to you. And we might be able to recommend a place or a museum or a site or something that you may want to visit on your own. So we're around, we are there to make sure everybody's, safe and healthy, but you're not going to see us in the evenings when you go out. You're going to go and do your own thing. So it's sort of the best of both worlds. And then there are scholarships available, and we're going to hold off on that so Ms. Lyons can talk about that. What else can we say? It's a portrait of Dante. It's a portion of a portrait, very famous one in Florence. You can see the city of Florence to the right in there, the city that is with which he's closely associated. And it was the city from which he was exiled for the greater part of his life. And when we learn about Dante, we'll understand the circumstances of it. But one of the things to know is that when he was in exile, he wrote his most famous work, The Divine Comedy, which consists of the Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. And part of that is illustrated in the figure that you see there on the screen. But we will, Dante will be one of the major figures that we explore, and I think you'll gain a great appreciation for Dante as a poet, as a writer, as a thinker from the readings that we do. But you'll also get a cultural appreciation for Dante when we're in cities like Florence and you realize the ubiquity of his name. So I tell people that perhaps we could compare Dante to George Washington in the United States, particularly in the Northeast, because if you're traveling up in that part of the United States, you'll encounter all kinds of places that have little plaques or big plaques that say George Washington slept here. And, you know, they're very famous for that. And some of those places, George Washington did indeed sleep. Maybe it was his headquarters. Maybe it was something very important happened there. Other places, maybe people believe that he slept there and it's a story. It's, you know, something that's been passed down. And so that's sort of the case with Dante in Italy. So in Florence, there are all kinds of things that are Dante related throughout this whole part of the country that we're going to be visiting. There's so many places that are associated with his life, and we're going to learn about that. We're going to learn about how, you know, Dante ended up being buried in Ravenna. That was his final resting place, and he's still buried in Ravenna. But even after he had been exiled from Florence, later generations recognized what an important poet he was, and they wanted to get him back. And so there's a whole struggle over getting Dante's mortal remains back in Florence. And of course, these two cities have this somewhat contentious relationship over this fact. You know, I think our cities would fight over George Washington if he's in Virginia, right? But if New Jersey had a claim on him and had the opportunity to move his remains up there, then maybe they would, or Massachusetts or someplace like that. Okay, so I'm digressing. This is a 3-hour course, junior interdisciplinary seminar. The academic requirements are going to be comparable to what you would expect in one of our junior interdisciplinary seminars. You may end up doing more work in this course than you would do in ordinary ones, but part of that is because you're going to be exposed to so much more. So a lot of it is going to be fun doing it. But in terms of course requirements, it'll be generally the same sorts of course requirements. That there will be you might have some reading quizzes or responses. You have a journal, travel journal that you keep, and then at the end a reflective essay. The course obviously is a sort of course that should and does count for MT Engage credit. You can't be more engaged in something than when you're actually in the country, learning about things, seeing these things that you're reading about. For those of you who don't need this course as UH 3500, there are ways that we can substitute that for another upper division honors course.
And ignore those question marks. I forgot to take them out.
Yeah, if you're an English major and you need 3400, European Lit to 1400, this is a course that sort of overlaps with that. It's one of the many courses I've taught in the English department in the past. So that's one option. Then, of course, this course can count toward any number of interdisciplinary minor requirements, like in classical studies, great books, medieval studies, or global studies. And let me emphasize that while there is some emphasis on literature in this, the course is interdisciplinary, and we'll be looking at works that are literary, that are philosophical, that are historical, that are religious. We'll be visiting sites and touring places with expert guides who will talk to us about art history, who'll talk to us about archaeology, and everyone in the class will bring diverse perspectives to it. And so as an honor student, we encourage you as an honor student to explore different things. And you can be a biochemistry major, you can be an equine science major, you can be a French major, an Italian major, any major on our campus, and I think there will be something here for you. I think that this course and this experience will enrich your lives. I mean that. When I first had the opportunity to study abroad, I was 20 years old, and I went on a summer program to the Université Catholique de l'Ouest in Angers in France. I'd been studying French and Latin as minors when I was studying English in college. And the experience just opened up the whole world to me. It was amazing to be in a different country, speaking another language or trying to speak another language, learning, and then being among other students who were from different parts of the world. So a big part of this experience is going to be putting yourself in this new environment and being with other people, being in these new places, visiting places where other people from all over the world are visiting. If you have the opportunity to go to a papal mass at St. Peter's Square, you'll find that people come from all over the world to hear Pope Francis, and you'll hear countless numbers of languages spoken. It's really unique experience. So the course overall, as I've said, is interdisciplinary. You can see the pictures that we're showing you. You get an idea of the sorts of places that we're going to be visiting. And we are, of course, looking at, we're emphasizing the ancient Rome, medieval and early modern Italy. At the same time, we're looking at all of that through the lenses of our 21st century perspectives, and we'll be exposed to Italian culture, across the board. So whatever you're interested in, if you're interested in fashion, if you're interested in art, if you're interested in great coffee, if you're interested in gelato, and if you're not interested in gelato, you will be when we go on this trip, because they've got the best gelato in the world. There is something here for everybody, and you will discover so many new things. So of course, this slide, one thing we can stand in front of the Colosseum and get our picture taken. Wouldn't that be great? So that'll make a great postcard. Okay, so the next slide.
Ooh, my favorite.
This is Cinque Terre. This is just one view of it, and you can see how beautiful it is. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So just a few more things about the course. I've talked a little bit about it, but when we have decided which, we've finalized the roster for the class, we know who's going on the program, then we're hoping to have that by Christmas time. Then in the spring semester, we're going to be doing things sort of leading up to the trip. And those things will include some class meetings that will give us an opportunity to work through the major readings that we're doing for the course, so that when we actually get to Italy, I can refer back to things, but we're not trying to read through the Aeneid while we're there. We're going to read it prior to the trip. We will have some readings and some questions to think about when we're there, but all of those things are going to be very short, easy to read. I might give you a poem or two by Horace, or something from Pliny's letters about the eruption of Vesuvius, or just small things like that, or maybe a few lines from something that we've read, passage from the Aeneid, when we're in a particular place, just to bring it back to your minds. But the majority of our reading we want to do prior to the trip, so that we can be immersed in the trip and just pull from our memory when we're talking about the literature and looking at different things and identifying things. In addition to our own meetings and activities, there is a meeting that's required by the MTSU Office of Study Abroad, which goes over a lot of important things related to the trip, travel abroad, that sort of thing. And we'll use that day, whatever that day is, we'll use the afternoon for another class meeting. So we might as well, since everybody's going to be in the same place. I added a bit here about language. Obviously, a knowledge of Italian is not required for this course, which is good because I can't speak Italian, nor can I understand Italian. So I'm not going to require it of anybody. However, I'm a big fan of the language learning app Duolingo. And I don't know, several of you are probably familiar with it. I know that several people in the other class were. I've used Duolingo for practicing and kind of keeping up with my Latin and my French, but Italian is one of the languages there. So once we have our roster, I've created a classroom within that app, and I'll be inviting everybody to the classroom. And I would encourage people, well, I'll be actively encouraging you to learn some very basic Italian and then to use it on your trip. By no means are you going to develop a fluency, any kind of fluency in it, but you can learn some basic phrases, you know, and those will go a long way to, you know, breaking down barriers, making people feel, you know, more welcoming of you. Whenever you go someplace, you go to a new culture, one of the best things that you can do is you can study that culture prior to going. You can learn some of the language and try to use that language because you're showing respect to people in that way. And people are just going to feel, it's going to be a warmer feeling that they have towards you if you're willing to do that. Plus, it's going to be fun. It'll be fun for you to go into a gelato shop and be able to order something in Italian. Now, how cool is that? I mean, you can do that even with no exposure to Italian right now. If you do these lessons and practice some of this basic Italian, you'll be able to use it. Now, for those of you who have studied Italian, you know, this is a great time to do more. You're going to be in the country, you can practice it. If any of you have studied Latin before in high school, or maybe now you have some knowledge of Latin, we're going to be exposed to a lot of Latin epigraphy etched, you know, in stone. There'll be different things that are written in Latin, and I'll point out some things, and we'll try to muddle through some of it. But it's all of that is fun. It's a great opportunity to use some of the things that you may know and to build on those. Okay, and finally, I think this is before I pass it over to Susan. These are the textbooks that we're going to be using for the class. These are some of the greatest works of literature. Virgil's Aeneid and Dante's Commedia are two of the greatest masterpieces of world literature. I can't emphasize that enough. And I think that you'll come to see the value of Boethius. All of these are interconnected in a way. And you'll see that if you've not read the Inferno before, for example, you'll discover straight away that there's a connection to Virgil, that Dante appears as a character in his own poem and his guide through the Inferno and up through Purgatory is the Roman poet Virgil. And we'll talk about why that's the case. But some of you may have encountered the Aeneid if you took Latin prior. You may have translated some passages maybe from book 2 or 4 or book 6 of the Aeneid. I'm not expecting anybody to come in with prior knowledge of these books. I'm going to talk about these books and we'll discuss them. But the Aeneid, if I had to make a list of my favorite books in all of literature, I would place the Aeneid at the top of my list. And I've got a lot of things that I really love, but this is a book that I come back to over and over again. And it's a book that was written in the 1st century BC. It was written during the time of Augustus, the end of the Republic, the beginning of the Empire. It's the great epic poem of Rome, and it will give you both the mythological beginnings of the Roman people. So we follow the story of Aeneas, the fall of Troy, the wandering of the Trojans through the Mediterranean, interlude in Carthage, trip to Latium, warfare, and then eventually peace. we get the whole of Roman history up until Augustus in this story. So having read this book will put you in a very good place to be able to appreciate and to understand a lot of the art and such that we'll see in Italy. And I'm not going to go into any detail about the rest of the works, but just to tell you that these are the main books that we're going to read, and they'll be accompanied by some minor, very shorter things. But these are the ones we're going to read. And if you are accepted into the program, the Honors College is going to provide these books to you. So you're not going to have to buy the books. We're going to buy the books, and we're going to give them to you in these editions that I've selected carefully. And why we need to read classic literature, I've sort of made a case for that already. We can read things that occur in the past, but that speak to us in the present, and the struggles that people go through, the trials that Aeneas has to undergo, the heartache, all of those things that are present in literature, things that we still deal with today. Love, passion, warfare, loss, death, sorrow, the consolation of philosophy, trying to find meaning in a seemingly meaningless world, or an unjust world. Boethius unjustly imprisoned and trying to find meaning. So many big themes like that. I think these works will speak to you, but they also transport us into another world and give us a way of seeing and understanding and appreciating other cultures that we wouldn't have otherwise. So I don't want to take up any more time because I've gone on a bit. I want to pass this on to Ms. Lyons, who will talk to you about some of the particulars in this beautiful map.
So this PowerPoint is going to be uploaded to our Italy website, on the honors website, which I gave you in a handout that I emailed to you this afternoon. But I wanted to show you this map of Italy because I want you to see the breadth of our travels. You can see Rome, and it's hard, I can't really point here, but you can see Rome down here. We're going to go as far south as just below Naples. We're going to go up to Florence in the Tuscany region. If you go farther north on the right-hand side of the country, you see Venice up there. And then if you go to the left across Venice, you see Genoa, and that's where in the area of Cinque Terre, that's the Italian Riviera. So you can see we are covering a tremendous amount of ground. And that's more than what you're going to see in a lot of the other study abroad programs that go different places, which also is reflected in our price. That's why our price is a little bit more, because we are traveling so broadly across the country. So what you do to apply, I emailed all these things to you with the links in them, so you can just click on those links. You can email me at any point and ask me questions. But the first step is to get pre-approval with the Office of Education Abroad. You will go to their website and you will look up our program. Just look up under Italy and you'll see our program. And when you open our program up, there is a Apply Now button. That's pre-approval with the Study Abroad office. That's not our application in the Honors College. So, but you'll do the pre-approval first. Then you will go to our website, which I just noticed is incorrect here, but it's correct on your handout. It's mtsu.edu/honors/Italy. I left the honors out. If you go to that website, you will see all the information that you need, but in there is a hot button that says apply. And that's where you're going to write your essay, a very thoughtful essay. We recommend going to the Writing Center, get some help because this will be competitive. We feel like we're going to have more than 20, and that's the max that we can take. So please be thoughtful about your essay, but that's where you're going to write the essays and do the application for us in the Honors College. Your next step will be getting approval from me, and you will make a $500 deposit, which we'll talk through at that point once you apply. You'll bring me a copy of your receipt. So I have that in my files. And then you're going to begin working with the Office of Education Abroad. They have a plethora of scholarships that you can apply for. And you need to take some time and go through the website, and it gives you tremendous information. And if you need more information, then you can make an advising appointment with someone over in their office, and they will sit down with you and tell you everything that you can apply for. The first thing I would say, once you do your $500 deposit for us, I would say go right away and apply for the commitment scholarship. Only the first 8 people who put down their deposit on any study abroad will receive that $500 commitment scholarship. So essentially that's going to cover your deposit that you've paid. I encourage you to go on our website for the Honors College and apply for our study abroad scholarships. Now, if you are a Buchanan, you have a built-in study abroad scholarship that has actually been increased for this trip, just this trip, to $3,000. If you are a transfer fellow, your scholarship has been increased from $1,750 to $2,500. So this is the year to do a study abroad. We have money left over because we have not been able to travel. So if you can take advantage of that, I highly recommend it. We also have scholarships for students who are not Buchanans or transfers. The minimum scholarship will be at least $500, but the dean, Dr. Phillips, and I feel like the dean will be much more generous when it comes down to it. And then we have a passport scholarship also through the Honors College. We will give you $140 toward the $145 cost of your passport. Whether you travel with us, you go on another trip or study abroad, or you just want a passport, this is a great opportunity to have $100 of it paid. The deadline for that is coming up October 22nd. So I would go to our website and do that as well. Oh, I see what I did. I updated this and put the wrong one back in here. The one that I emailed you has the correct date below. The first payment will be due by January 31st. That's not the deposit. That's your first payment toward the trip once you've been accepted. I don't know what that amount will be yet, but you will know all of that prior to travel. So let me get out of this screen and bring up another screen here. Here's my cursor.
Well, let me step in for just a minute. Then while you're doing that, Susan, I want to take off my professor hat and put on my dean hat and tell all of you that the Honors College wants you to be able to participate in an education abroad program. We believe very strongly in this program. This is our program. This is our honors program. And we are going to do whatever we can to help you. So I know that it can seem daunting when you're looking at all of the numbers, but I would urge you to think about this as something that you want to do and something that is very much possible for you to do. It may require some effort. It may require applying for different things. But if you can get a little bit here and you can get a little bit there, all of it adds up. It really does. And Dean Vitale and I both would like to see people participate in this program. And so I can't emphasize that enough. The other thing is that if you're going to be more successful at paying for this trip if you are proactive. And so pay close attention to what Ms. Lyons is talking about and make use of the resources. And there are many resources available, from the study abroad office to the Honors College to your individual colleges, to your individual departments. Also, Laura Clippard, who is the head of our undergraduate fellowships office in our building, supported by the Honors College. She is a resource for you if you apply for a Gilman, for example. But there are a lot of different opportunities out there, and I want you, don't give up on this before you've tried it, because I think you may be surprised at what is available for you to help support this.
So this page here, I will email to you as well. But this, you'll find the same information on the Office of Study Abroad's website. This is all the things that they have available to you and places they recommend you look for scholarships. So I will email this out to you as well. But going back to the Gilman, that is a federal government program. The deadline for that is October 5th. So it's coming up very quickly. That scholarship will essentially pay for the entire trip. So if you are a Pell recipient, and if you are, you will know that you are, then you need to contact Laura, Laura.Clippard, Clippard, at mtsu.edu right away. She will help you begin the process, get your essay written, and proof it and edit it with you. So go ahead and do that immediately if you are a Pell Grant recipient.
Susan, if you're showing a list on the screen,
you can't see it? Okay.
I can see something that looks like the top of a page that says Italy short presentation.
Oh, okay. Can you see
there
that?
It is.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay. So this is the form this is the sheet I was talking about here, and I will email this out to you so that you'll all be able to see it. But again, it is on the Office of Education Abroad's website. I also emailed out to you, and let me find this. Oh, I had it open here. The price sheet. And I know that that was a little bit scary. So I want to go through that with you. Okay, can you see this? Yes, okay. Okay, so here's our price breakdown. And I want to run through these numbers with you so it's not so daunting looking. So tuition and fees. This is something that if you have scholarships or financial aid that pays for your tuition, then this portion's already covered. It's not new money that you have to come up with, but it is a summer class. If you receive Pell, if you receive the Hope Scholarship, then you have the opportunity to use some of that money to pay for a summer class. So you want to check into that with financial aid. So I encourage you to talk to financial aid about using some of your aid in the summer. You'll see our program cost is $4,600 roughly. That includes all your housing, breakfast every morning, all your transportation, all your tours, all the guides, everything that we do while we're in country. It does not include, it includes 2 dinners also, but it doesn't include every meal. So you see we've budgeted $470 for meals. That basically is, I think we said $15 for lunch and $20 for dinner. Now, lunch, you could spend $10. You get a pizza, you get a panini, you get something delicious out of a little cafe or a little shop as we're traveling around these little towns. Dinner, you could spend a little more on if you want to. But again, that meal price, that's under your control. So that's an estimate. The study abroad fee, the INEX insurance fee, those are things that we pay to the Office of Study Abroad, and the insurance covers the trip if you were to have a medical emergency while you were in country, or if you required some assistance. Miscellaneous expenses, we threw $200 in there. Again, that's spending money. You can bring as much as you want and spend as much as you want. So that's up to you. The passport, I've already said you could apply for $100 off that cost if you do not have one. So that's where that price can come down. So the international airfare, we estimated pretty high. Right now it's running about $1,500, but everyone's going to make their own reservations. We will be able to do it together. If you're uncomfortable doing an international flight by yourself, we will all meet in a computer lab and we can work together. If you are comfortable doing it on your own and you do not need our assistance, you can do it on your own. We will give you a window of time in which you have to arrive in Rome and in which you will fly out of Milan. So we'll have some parameters that you'll have to follow, but essentially that airfare can come way down. We have estimated high just to be on the safe side. So you see that bottom number is 84, but when you look at that, that's a very flexible number. Again, if you're a Buchanan, go back up to that program cost of $4,600, you're going to take $3,000 off the top of that. You could get, you know, multiple other scholarships for 500 here, 1,000 there. That's going to bring that number down. If you have family members that get points on Delta or United or, you know, one of the airlines that flies over there, see if for Christmas they'll give you their points and use them to get a ticket to fly over. Be creative, ask for money for Christmas if that's what you want, and begin saving. It is doable. We have students, we have one student in particular that I can think of who has been on 6 study abroads and has not paid a dime. There is money there. So we've given you a great amount of information and to start with, but I encourage you to get on the Office of Study Abroad's website, read through it all, go meet with them, meet with the financial aid, talk about summer tuition, see what they have to offer, talk to your college because there are also scholarships in your colleges. And again, if you are a Pell recipient, I can't emphasize this enough, please contact Laura Clifford immediately and apply for the Gilman, because that will pay for the entire trip if you get it. But the deadline is October 5th, so it is coming up quickly. I will open this up for questions, but you are also free to email me or call me or stop by and visit me at any time. You can get online and make an appointment with me. You'll be able to see my calendar and you can just schedule it for whatever works for you. Before I sign off on this, does anyone have any questions they want to ask me now? Just ask them if you do. You don't have to. Or have I shocked you all into silence? Anybody? All right. Well, again, mtsu.edu/honors/Italy. That will take you to our page on this study abroad, which will include all this information that we've covered. It will include this PowerPoint, and eventually it will include this video if you need to watch that again. Thank you all for coming today. And again, my door, phone, email, appointment calendar is open to you all, and I hope to hear from some of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the same here. Drop by and see me. Dean Vall and I have an open door policy in the dean's office. So if you have any questions about the program, just about the course more specifically, come and talk to me. If you have questions about the program, see Ms. Lyons.
Thank you all. Have a good night.